It's exactly what the title says. Today we are looking at whimsical design inspiration that is not mid-century modern. And I think it makes sense, right? That the sense of whimsy really wants to come forward during this time of massive insecurity for most of the world's population. And the way I'm thinking about whimsy isn't strictly like fairy, elven type of vibes, but it also includes playfulness, some sort of creating an environment that you can get lost in, a sense of earnestness, and a soft and dainty energy that is very determined. Because as beautiful as mid-century modern can be, I am starting to get a little sick of it being the only thing I see on Pinterest. So without further ado, let's get into my whimsical design inspiration that is not mid-century modern. If you're new here, my name is Medora, and I make videos about actually realistic home design for the average person. So if you're interested in seeing more videos like this, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to tell the algorithm to show you more of my videos. And without further ado, let's get into it. Also, if I sound sick in this video, it's because I am. So sorry, deal with it. Oh, also quick side note while I'm thinking about it. I'm going to be hosting decor swap parties while I go on tour this summer. So if you live in any of these states and you want to be like my point person in that city and help me put on a decor swap party, whether that's at your house or at a cute little local coffee shop or something like that, email me at medorakiadesign@gmail.com. And now I promise we will get into the whimsical design inspiration. This first one is like if elves and lumberjacks had a baby. This is such a vibe. Like if you took cabins but made it all like fairy, foresty type of, it's so cute. And the thing that really makes this, I mean, there's a lot of details in here to look at, but specifically these pieces of wood that enclose the window on the sides. Like I didn't even notice until now that toothpaste and a razor are sitting right there. Didn't even register that there was just like some random ugly stuff sitting there. And this is actually a relatively simple design. Like you just cut that out of some wood with a jigsaw. And this is honestly relatively DIY friendly. It's clearly made by someone who knows what they're doing when it comes to wood and knows how to like finish wood so that it looks and feels nice. But this absolutely feels like the kind of thing that any DIYer who like knows how to research how to do stuff could absolutely figure out what they're doing. Obviously the mirror is another big part of that. And then behind the towel bar, the way that this like one piece of wood kind of comes up in this weird shape and the rest of the wood is cut out around that shape. Everything just fits together like a puzzle. And I don't think it's actually as complicated as it looks, because once you have one shape, you can just trace that shape on another shape and cut it out and they automatically fit together. Like it's really not as custom and complicated as it looks. There's obviously definitely a big Art Nouveau kind of influence here, but again, Art Nouveau meets cabin. This one is much less whimsical than most of the other ones on this list, but I included it specifically because, well, partially because of the wallpaper, but also because it feels like it appeals to the sense of 50s nostalgia. Like when we think about the past, especially the way that us Americans were socialized to think that World War II was the greatest thing ever and we need to like romanticize the time period that came right after that and all that. This feels like a manifestation of that. Like peak 50s housewife, very cute, very nostalgic. We're not actually going for like historical accuracy, but we are going for this very like cutesy nostalgia vibes. To me, this one just screams like princess who is falling apart. It's so cute in the best possible way. I love this dusty pink drapery all around the bed, a canopy bed, and especially where those sconces are like coming through the fabric. Such a fun idea to have sconces inside of the canopy bed like that. And it feels like something straight out of a fairy tale to me. And not like a perfect fairy tale, but one of the grim fairy tales or something where shit's happening, but like also it can be a vibe at the same time. So this feels whimsical in a very different way. This feels like Mexican auntie who knows exactly what she wants. And what she wants is a fuck ton of color. I will say, I think it would be very hard to recreate this exact type of vibe because usually painting your cabinets different colors like this doesn't usually look very good, especially painting the frames of the cabinets different colors than the cabinet doors, and it doesn't always work. But here, in this context, it's a vibe. Part of that is definitely the color palette, but part of it is also just the photography. Like it looks like some grainy old film photo, and that is definitely contributing to the vibe. So just a reminder that whenever we see photos on Pinterest, they are just photos. You are not experiencing that space in the same way that the person who lives there experiences that space. Context is everything. Interior design is not just visual, it is holistic. I have seen far too many nursery makeovers in the past like 5 or 10 years that are beige. They are just beige. And do they still look nice? Sure. But like even just adding a little pop of color, this little like dusty blue on the wardrobe, these colorful scarves on the wall, like having pretty boxes and baskets that you get to like take out and open up. Like that's such a fun experience for a child. And I do think it's also totally valid to not want like super bright, colorful plastic shit everywhere. And so I love this wooden castle thingy that I assume they DIY'd because it really doesn't look that hard. Like to get that shape on the top, all you have to do is drill out the right sized hole with like a hole saw and then cut the sides in and then sand it all. It's really much simpler than it appears and it's adorable. It's also the kind of thing that I wouldn't mind looking at. And since it is real wood, I've heard about studies on this, but something about real wood as opposed to like wood veneer, or more specifically like plastic wood veneer, like my desk is, something about that signals to our brain safety and relaxation and calm and like nervous system regulating. So always a fan of real wood over fake wood if you can. I have no idea what's going on here, but I kind of love it and hate it at the same time. It's a lot. It's very clearly not realistic in the sense that most of us don't have like boulders for bedroom walls and a giant fireplace in our bedroom. Um, but I thought it was just such a fun, playful use of color in combination with all of these rocks, because I feel like most people, and in most contexts, if you have some sort of big unique architectural feature like this, you really want to highlight it and let everything else kind of fade into the background. But here we've taken a completely different approach, and I kind of love it. It's very weird. I don't expect that anything like this would make sense in a lot of people's homes. But even if we just take one single idea that's like actually kind of realistic for most people out of this whole thing, I would say get a beautiful, distinctive bedspread that is much larger than your bed so that it'll drape all the way down to the floors. Measure. The key here is measuring. Use a tape measure. And you also want to make sure it's big enough that you can tuck it under, that you can either lay it over the pillows or you can tuck it under and then wrap it around the pillows. Because something about this way of styling a bed, it's so simple, it's so practical, it's so good for like everyday use, and it looks beautiful. And it's also just easy. Like you get out of bed, or even before you get out of bed, pull the covers up, make sure everything looks flat before you get out of bed, and then like fix up near the pillows and you're done. It's so simple. It's obviously, oh, I forgot to close my dresser drawer. Hold on. You didn't see that. It's fine. Anyways, I don't remember what I was saying, but bedspread, beautiful, simple, easy, classic, timeless, can't go wrong. Even with like bright colors and a really bold print like this, I don't think I've ever seen it look bad. So this one is much more folky. It's giving like Polish or Ukrainian or something like that. Again, maybe not the most realistic since painting little things on your walls like this is definitely going to be a pain to paint back over when you move out. But also it's really freaking cute, and there's nothing quite like some hand-painted little motifs like this to really cozy up a space and to bring out the whimsy in a space. This feels very like 60s, 70s, but also within a weird context of like old factory brutalist architecture, which is an interesting combination. I can't say that it's like my favorite combination in the world, but also this place would just be a sad gray box if you didn't bring any color in. So for that reason, I think it works. There's really a lot going on in here. I can't tell if this is AI or not, and if it is not, I would be concerned about fire safety with all those rugs underneath there. Maybe it's not a functioning fireplace, maybe it's just decorative. I don't know. But like again, these are just photos on the internet. I have no idea what the context behind any of these decisions are, and I'm just happy to see that someone is making a space their own. I don't think it's AI because some of these things are like very weirdly specific and it doesn't look like a too perfect photo. You know how AI tends to look like a little too perfect? It's not giving me that, so I would be very curious to learn more about the space. This is so cute. Okay, this I don't think necessarily would be the first thing people think of when they think of whimsy, but I really love like this bedspread, these animal plushy things. There's a lot of like floral prints. It's very like frilly, but also juxtaposed with what I would consider a relatively masculine wallpaper and light fixture up here. We've just got these horses, and then the light fixture is very simple. But I think part of what's so fun about it is this little nook back here. So cute. As a kid, this would have been my favorite spot. I always loved little nooks and crannies, anywhere you can like hide away, get away from the world and just like be in your own little space. Maybe that's just an autistic thing, but objectively adorable, and based on the little like portal passageway thingy and the animals and all of that. It feels very whimsical to me. Something about this is giving Narnia to me. I've literally only watched that once, and I think it was like probably a solid 15 years ago. So that might be completely wrong, but there's so much going on here. And despite how maximalist it is in terms of the amount of colors that are going on and the amount of detail that's going on and all of the styling that's happening, I think the space is so successful. Obviously, the fireplace is the focal point, or at least from what we can see here. The fireplace is the focal point, and as fun as this, like, really neat wallpaper is, it just feels like it fades into the background. It feels like, okay, there's a very specific moment I remember when I was a kid when I looked at M&M packets a little bit closer and I realized that the brown in the background is not just a flat brown, but it's brown with, I think, slightly lighter or darker brown dots on it. And when I noticed that, my mind was like completely blown. I was like, whoa, how have I never noticed that before? And I think that was a core memory as an early designer is I just saw a mallard duck fly by, like right outside my window. Anyways, it was one of those moments where I realized that color and pattern doesn't have to be super attention grabbing. Like you can do color and pattern in a very subtle way. Not that I think anything about the space is particularly subtle, but out of everything that's going on here, the wallpaper would definitely be the most subtle. And then it gives a nice little moment for the plates that are happening over on this wall, but the plates are so like dainty and delicate and small that it doesn't feel like they're competing with the fireplace at all. Okay, this one I think might actually be AI because I don't know what on earth is happening here. These lights both look very different, like their stems look very different, and whatever that wooden thing in the middle sticking up out of the headboard is, I have no idea what that is. I don't know, like maybe it is just some rich person's house and I don't know what I'm talking about, but something about this doesn't feel real. And I think that's part of why I like it and part of why it makes sense in whimsical home inspiration. Obviously, the big flower sconces are a huge part of this, but also just like the pattern and the storytelling on the bedspread and the pillows and the giant tapestry art thingy that's happening on the wall behind the headboard. It feels like we've stepped into another universe here. Like, I really don't know how to describe it better than that. Like, things feel very close to our world, but it's just like a little off, but like in a good way. Okay, finally, here we have some inspiration that is actually kind of realistic. I love the idea of DIYing your own room divider because there are so many options for what you could do. I've seen people just cut holes out in a grid from them, which would be very mid-century. I've seen people paint them like this. I've seen people just like stain them a fun color. I've seen people do like fun shapes across the top. Like there's so many different options for where you could go with this, and this is adorable. And the nice thing about this is that, especially if you're a very creative person, this is the type of thing that you can just paint over it whenever you get bored, and that would just be like such a fun project, I feel like, to kind of just have this ever-evolving piece of art in your home that you get to interact with and play with and decide what you want to do with. This one is kind of similar to that other one. It's very much about the color and the pattern and the storytelling that's happening, especially. I feel like this has to be AI too, because it's doing this same kind of molding frame type of situation, but this, what is that? That's not real. I will say AI is definitely getting better at patterns and stuff because like that looks pretty convincing. But yeah, no, that's a dead giveaway right there. Also, this nightstand is way too small for the amount of space that's there. But that's a topic for a different day. It's whimsical, it's cute, it's kind of like Moroccan slash Indian vibes, but also the people in here look very like in the art back here look Japanese, and so I don't know what's happening. Again, I'm pretty sure this is AI. I don't know what's happening. This is a really neat one that, again, might be AI. I cannot confirm nor deny any of this. I don't know. The way that this curtain is kind of draping over here is not giving me a lot of hope for it, not being AI, because that just doesn't feel like a realistic drape. But the main idea that I wanted to share in this specific photo is this like built-in bookshelf thingy. Obviously, it would be kind of hard to do that built-in if you don't own your house, but I've seen people do stuff like this. I'm pretty sure DIY Danny has done something similar, or I'm pretty sure she changed her channel name to DIY in Progress. It's been a while since I've seen her videos. But she definitely made some dupe of some anthropology thing at some point, and I'll pop some picture up here. So stuff like this is definitely doable. Would I recommend it if it's not like a labor of love kind of thing? Probably not. But it is doable. This one is very strange because it's whimsical, but it's in a very like 80s postmodern kind of way, which just feels so fun and funky. Again, I'm guessing this is AI. I'm not making any of these AI images, but there's a lot out there on Pinterest. And as much as I hate AI and don't condone the use of it, if the images already exist, you can draw inspiration from anything you want, like blanket permission. So this image exists, I did not create it, we are going to look at it. I would be very tempted to create some sort of DIY light fixture inspired by this with the like big curvy something and multiple different lights. I'm guessing I would have to, not use metal because bending that much metal and not having it fold in half would be a bit of a challenge. But it gives me a lot of fun ideas, and I also really love the shape of this couch and the way that the arm of this couch flows into the bottom and it's like so round. It's just a lot of fun, and it feels very whimsical, also because it's yellow. Just fun, bright colors, fun shapes, roundness, whimsy. I don't know, what's your definition of whimsy? Because as of right now, I do not have a clear definition, but I just have a general vibe. All right, we're gonna end on this one because my audio is cutting out on me, and I really need to clean up my computer because it's kind of a hot mess right now. But this is just so fun, so unique. I've never seen any interior design space like this. The deep blue, the red branches and birds and stuff, the really strange jade green and orange glass chandelier thingy. I would have never thought to put that strange color in this type of space before. Like, if I had the rest of the space all designed, this is not the chandelier that I would have thought to put in there. But like, it's really good. It's one of those things that like sometimes just making the weird, bold decision really pays off. And again, I am wondering if this is maybe AI because these sconces down by here by the bed look very low. Like too low that a human would not have put those there. But again, what do I know? Not much. I'm just one person who does not have any context about the space, but I think it's neat to look at, and so that's why I'm sharing it with you. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to see more like it, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to tell the algorithm to show you more of my videos. If you want to win a makeover while I go on tour this summer, the link for that will be down below. If you want to get access to community calls where we help each other with our spaces, head over to patreon.com/medorakia. And if you want to work with me one-on-one, go to medorakia.com. Bye.